Okay, so 10X was amazing, soul shaking, like I said, life-changing stuff. Since I've come back home, I just feel like, I feel like this is the first time I've attended an event that I came back home and I knew exactly what to do with what I learned, which is really special about 10X. And we're gonna share that with you guys tonight. So what I did was invited the girls who attended 10X with me to pick one thing that stood out to them, because of course we can't get 3 fully loaded days and hand it over to you guys. It's just too much information, right? But what I asked them to do was pick the one thing that stood out to them most, that just really, that the golden nugget that they walked away with, that they knew right away they could start implementing into the business, the one thing that impacted them the most, and the one thing that they went home and couldn't stop thinking about, okay? So that's what tonight's call is gonna be about. We're gonna basically share and tell our experience at 10X. And before we get into that, I wanna just, you guys know this, how important personal development is. And I wanna be very transparent with you guys tonight and share with you that in my personal life and business, I was slipping in personal development. I was not doing it. I slipped into this mode of busy, and I started saying I don't have like time for it. I wasn't making the time for it, and kind of thinking to myself subliminally, subconsciously, that I already know everything I need to know. Like I could just keep doing what I'm doing in my business and could keep succeeding. But here what 10X did for me. And by the way, I ran into 10X by accident. One of the coaches in Diesel Nation just happened to run across an ad, happened to drop it into the Diesel Nation wall, and we all just happened to buy it because there was a buy one, get one free deal. Like seriously, had no intentions, no real planning done to go to this event. It just fell on our lap and we just did it, right? We didn't even know what to expect. We just went. And I feel like it was divine intervention for me to sit in that audience. I'll tell you, I had a little bit of friction with my husband because it was Super Bowl weekend. It was falling on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Kid had football. You know, there were a lot of things going on. But something inside me told me I need to make this happen. I need to go, right? And after day one, hold on, let me wait. After day one of staying there, I was like, wow. This is divine intervention. This is what I needed. I needed to hear this. And it reminded me on the fact that I was slipping and I was being very lazy in this department, and it was paralyzing me. It was paralyzing me. I was noticing when it came to my social media, I was struggling with content on what to share, what to talk about, right? I started feeling so black and white instead of seeing everything in color. Everything was just becoming mundane and black and white. And I realized the power of social media, the power of personal development is just that. While we may understand the concepts of think bigger, 10X your efforts, eat that frog, all the things that we read about, you are a badass, right? All these concepts, just by the title, you can kind of get the gist of what they're going to teach you, right? But that's not the point. That's not the point. It's kind of like soul food that you need to feed your mind, body, and soul with so that you can turn around and leverage it and use it to create those creative juices flowing, and for you to spark imagination, to spark creativity. Like that's what it's about. And I forgot that. I really forgot that. I was being lazy about that. And I feel like 10X just changed so much for me. And I know the girls feel the same exact way because we haven't been able to shut up about it. And I can see, here's the thing, I can see everyone that got home from this event, how they've made changes in just 3 days. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to our first speaker tonight, because if not, I could blah, 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 this, because I'm just like over the moon since coming back from 10X. I do want to share, I forgot to say something. I do want to share one thing with you guys. So I got back home, and I'm going to challenge you guys to something that Grant challenged us to right before we left, the very last day of 10X. He challenged us to something, okay? And I took on the challenge. And part of that is, again, recommitting to my personal development. So the first book I picked up on, you guys want to know something funny? I can't find my 10X book anywhere. I don't know what I do with it. I feel like such an asshole, but I can't find my 10X book anywhere. But I knew that I needed to compound on the stuff I learned. So the next book that I thought about, that I had in my library here at home, that would fall in line with it, was the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. Okay, so I'm already on chapter, I think, like 5 or 6. That's a big deal for me because I suck at reading. But this one line stood out to me because I can tell you that one of the things that I have had to battle and that has hindered me throughout my coaching career, because this business has stretched me a lot, guys. The woman I am today is not nearly close to the woman I was 70 years ago starting this business. And this one quote stood out to me because it just gave me this sense of comfort. And it's the same message that Grant was drilling home at 10X. And it reads, where success is concerned, people are not measured in inches or pounds or college degrees or family background. They are measured by the size of their thinking. That's powerful. Like, all the things that you are telling yourself on why you can't be successful is just straight up bullshit. It's bullshit. And Grant Cardone, the whole concept of 10X is just that, is getting your thinking and multiplying it by 10. Going bigger and bigger and bigger. So I thought this quote was so perfect. I don't know, today I read it and it just put me at complete ease. And it gave me that permission to just charge forward. And like Grant says, success is my duty, right? He made us repeat that over and over. Success is my duty. It's my duty. It's my duty. And that's sunk in. I mean, it is my duty to get out there and live to my potential. And I'm not even close to that. I know it. I know it deep in the crevices of my being that I'm not there yet. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I'm sure right now, if I gave you 5 minutes to yourself, you could write a whole list of the things that are stopping you, the mental blocks that you're putting in front of you that you're telling yourself that you can't, you don't have this, you don't have that, you know, this is not under your belt, that's not under your belt. I want you to wipe it away for right now. Clean slate. And I want you to listen to these girls tonight and listen to what we learned and really take it in. And remember that line. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to do anything. You just have to think a certain way. And things will come to life. All right. So first speaker I'm going to pass it on over to is Casey. Casey, you're going to tell them what you're going to talk. I'm not going to say anything else. Take it away.
I mean, luckily you started with that quote because mine's not so nice. So Grant got on stage. If you guys are familiar with Marlins Park, the ceiling, the roof is retractable. Okay. We didn't sit on the floor. We sat in the second arena, second level. But all these people who sat on the floor probably paid upwards of $5,000, $10,000, God knows how much for the tables in front of the stage for their seats. But because they had the roof open, the sunlight just kept coming in, beating on these people. And it was funny because you'd see them, they're holding up folders, they're holding up books, they're trying to find ways to cover their face. And Grant's just standing on stage, preaching and talking the way that he talks. And it resonates with me because that's the way that I talk. And he tells them, you guys you bought these tickets. Congratulations for, picking these seats and whatnot, but you really have an obligation because you paid this price to fix your situation. If you don't like your seat, if the sun's in your eyes, then get up and move. You're not stuck there. You can do anything you want. Handle it. You bought these seats. You earned this. So then, Mike to his face, he says, fix your shit. Essentially, fix your shit. Nobody's gonna do it for you. Nobody's gonna move you. Sitting there complaining to my staff and these security guards in getting hired as volunteers, they're not gonna help you. You have a duty to fix your own problems and your own mess. And I mean, if you follow me on social media, I have said that, I don't know, maybe 1,793 times since Friday when I heard it, but it's just, that's it. Like, that's so essential. And I keep telling Monica, I'm like, I'm going to just repackage this and repurpose it, put a bow on it with my face and sell it, because that's the bottom line. Like, if you're not happy, fix your shit. If you're not where you want to be, fix your shit. If the sun is in your eyes, put some glasses on and fix your shit. Like, it's so basic, and I don't even really need to explain it. You can do it nicely. You can just, those 3 words, it's self-explanatory, and the concept is just, it's everything. I mean, everything. There was the sounds, and another point he made, I mean, he's pretty sarcastic in just the manner and how he delivers, but we're literally sitting in what he called a metal container. Like the stadium was a metal container. And we thought our seats were bad because there was this terrible echo, and it depended on the speaker and their tone and their speed, really, whether we could even understand them. So we were like looking at screens, trying to like, what do you say? And we either heard it or we didn't. But Monica and I made one loop around to the other side when we met John Maxwell, and you couldn't hear anything over there. I mean, you may as well have been on 8th Street trying to catch what they were saying. So it's just the whole place echoed. You couldn't really hear, but it's like you had to find your place or you missed the message. So don't stay focused on the fact that you can't hear it or that it was echoing, because like Grant said, you were inside a metal container, but fix your place in it and just get the message, get heard, get it together, really. I mean, fix your shit. That's it. Like, I can't really explain it any better. I think it was just so perfect for everything that he was preaching, as far as even what Monica said. He threw a conference that cost millions of dollars, but also generated millions of dollars for Miami on Super Bowl weekend. Everybody told him not to, and he said, I'm gonna, because these are my people and my people are gonna show up. And everybody, I mean, like Monica said, had to fix their shit to get there on Super Bowl weekend, but we did. I mean, 35,000 of us. So don't think that anything's impossible, because you can change it. You're not stuck. I mean, I've said already to so many people, you are not a tree. You can get up and move. So that's that.
And I'm going to piggyback a little bit on it, because I think one of the biggest things that stuck out to me about all the fix your shit and all this stuff, he told us about his life story, guys. From the age of 16 to 25, that man was a drug addict living on the streets. Like, literally, his mom turned his back on him. His whole family turned their back on him. He says that his best friend in his whole wide world is his mother, because his mother looked at him and said, get out of here and don't come back until you're well. And for that many years, he spent just wasting life away. And from 25, when he cleaned himself up, to now 50, I think he said he was 51 or 52. Was it, Amy?
61.
61. Good. He looks good. Okay, but 60-something, right? Okay, 61. That's where he's put his life back together, and that's where he's created the success that he's had in his life. And that really hit me, because he even said it. My mom had to fix her shit and get me out of her life for her and for myself. She couldn't continue to raise the rest of my siblings, and they couldn't continue to thrive as a family because I was causing a problem, and she had to get rid of me. And I understood that later on in life. And he said, and there's times in my business and in my success that if my environment around me was not helping me and pushing me towards my goals, I had to eliminate it. And again, fix my shit. And it's just this idea of all the reasons that we are telling ourselves that we're holding ourselves back, in reality, are in our control. They're in our control. And if they're not in your complete control, you know what is in your control? The way you think about it. Whether you give it attention or whether you let it be over here while you're over here making shit happen. So, excellent point. Thank you, Casey. That was so well said. You painted the picture beautifully, because that's exactly how I felt. Like, hearing it from him, that's how powerful that one line was. And Casey and I repeated it to each other like 10,000 gazillion times back and forth in the last 3 days. All right. So next up, let me pass it over to Amy. Amy, talk to them about your number one takeaway.
What's up, guys? Well, first of all, the event was awesome. It was, I mean, honestly, we all had our little flags. He handed out flags. They gave us like little booklets that every day covered like day 1, day 2 for you to take notes. Like, honestly, they went all out. I got the honor of seeing John Maxwell for the first time, and that's who I'm going to talk about. And honestly, I had always heard him. I have his audios. To me, he sounds like, like one of those Disney rides where he has like that nice, calming voice. He sounds, and it's funny because when he comes out, Monica's like, ese como mi abuelito, like my grandfather. And I had always heard him on the, on tapes, but live, he's even more comforting. He's like, you've heard a Grant Cardone, like, cuss you out, tell you all these bad things, fix your shit. And then all of a sudden, this nice little old man comes out, and he's like, the first thing he tells us is, my name is John and I'm your friend. And the thing about him is that he has a way of reprimanding you without you realizing it because he does it so nicely. But then he's funny at the same time. Like, he was hilarious, you know? And he basically went on and he explained, the first thing he said was, a lot of the things, again, it's like your little old grandfather giving you all this advice. And it might be advice that it doesn't, like the way he explains it, it doesn't directly correlate to business. You can just use it in your everyday life, but then obviously it relates to your business. So he started talking about the fact that everything that is worthwhile is always uphill. Like, it's uphill. It's not that you all of a sudden wake up and you're, oh my God, I'm successful. It just happened. You know, he explains how you have to work for it. You have to go uphill. And the only way you get to do that is if you're intentional about the things that you do. You have to live a life with intention. So he gave us 4 basic things to be intentional about. And I'm just going to tell you guys real quick. It's going to be quick. But then I'll show you how I quickly applied it to obviously my fitness and my business. The first thing he said is that to be intentionality is essential. And one thing that really, really stuck to me, he said that most people don't live their life, they accept their life. Which I think that really hit home to me, because you realize that if you don't have the things you want, it's because you've accepted the fact that you don't have them. So I think that, that gets you thinking, and you're like, hold on, but why don't I have it? If I don't have it, it's because obviously I'm okay with not having it. So he said 4 things to be intentional about. And the first thing he mentioned was personal growth, that you had to be intentional about personal growth and development, and to develop yourself in the inside, which is one of the reasons, obviously, we all went to the conference. But he explains that in order for you to have this intentional growth, there's certain things that you need. Number 1, he says you need to create an environment of growth. And the way that you do that is you have to be surrounded in a place where others are ahead of you. He said that better people make you better. He said that he also explained that he once a month would have a lunch with someone. He treats them to lunch, and he would just sit there to basically learn about them, and that you can't know everything. There's always going to be something that you can learn. And one of the best things that you can do is learn from someone else. So he would have this thing called the learning lunch. He would invite somebody over for lunch, and they would sit there and he would ask them questions. He says that he wouldn't even eat, and it was basically just to learn. He also said that a place of growth is a place where you're constantly being challenged. I saw myself in T20. I saw myself in my business. I saw myself how we constantly have to be challenged. Sometimes we don't want the pressure. We need that pressure. That pressure is important for our growth. He's talked about being in a place where your focus is always forward, and when you wake up excited. I wake up excited. I think I should be too. He also talked about that for a long time, and I saw myself when he said that. He said that for a long time, he would always say, how long is it going to take? Oh my God, how long is it going to take? And I remember myself as an emerald saying, oh my God, how long is it going to take? I'm going to find 2 people to finally buy a shake. And then it was diamond. Oh my God, how long is this going to take? How long is it going to take? And then all of a sudden he was like, I changed my thinking to how long was it going to take to how far can I go? And I was like, fuck, yes. He's like, I'm like, look at this old man. I'm like, yes, he's so right. Like, this whole time we're focused on, oh, when are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? And then he said that there is no finish line. Like, why do you want to be finished? Do you want to be finished? I don't want to be finished. What happens when there is no finish line? So you obviously, if you put yourself in these situations, you're going to get to the point where you're growing intentionally. So then the second thing he said is you have to prioritize your leadership. And he said there's 5 questions that you have to ask yourself. The number 1 question is know what you want. The number 2 question was you have to have the right tools, because obviously you want to get somewhere and you have to cut down a tree. He explained you're not going to use a scissor. You got to use an axe. So you obviously have to have the right tools. to get where you want to go. He says you have to stay focused. He says you have to be consistent. And he also said that you have to stay until you finish. So basically, not give up. He explained that consistency compounds. So obviously being consistent, showing up every day. And he made a really adamant speech about the every single day. Like, it was funny. They were like, so how often do you write? He's like, every day. And he's like, on your birthday, every single day. So show up every day. And then the third thing he talked about was partnership. He says that you should develop yourself with people that will add value to you and you add value to others. He explained about partnership, and he also said about value. The fourth thing was value. He said you should value people, who they are and what they think. He says you should also try to think of ways to add value to other people. Look for ways to add value to people. Do things that add value and encourage others to add value. And then the last thing he said that really stuck to me was, he said, it's not about you. And I think Shanti did this today. You guys did the workout today, where he took strength away from you and he made strength be something else, the strength inside you. He did the same thing. And he said, it's not about you. It's about who you hurt if you don't make it. So like all of a sudden, it's not about what are you going to do? It's going to be what happens to those people that are not going to get the best of you because you didn't make it. And that to me was like, wow, they're not going to see my power. And it like takes away a little bit of the responsibility on you, but it gives it more to you. I don't know if I explain myself when I say that. And that was basically my takeaway on John Maxwell. It was awesome. I don't know if I wanted to cry. I wanted to laugh. It was emotional. I felt like I got counsels by my abuelito, and it was awesome, honestly, that I was able to do it with the girls. It was a great experience, and I highly recommend that if they do it again, which I think they will. I think he's going to stick to Miami. He's a Miami boy. He threw a Miami party. I'm sure that it's going to, I mean, if it's not going to be better than this one, it will top it. So you guys should definitely try to go next year. And that's it. That was my takeaway.
Awesome, Amy. That was amazing. You summarized that just like perfectly. And you know, the girls were laughing, but as John was presenting, I was saying, like I was finishing his sentences. That's how long I've been studying that man. And I told the story to the girls. It was 2013, my very first summit. He was the keynote speaker for Beachbody Summit. By the way, back then, Summit was like, I don't know, 5,000 people strong, not like today where it's 30, 40,000 people strong. And I remember sitting there next to my husband, we're listening to John Maxwell, and we both agreed that was the turning point for us, that man. What he said hit Johan and I so much and resonated so much with us that we walked away from John Maxwell. And that's when he was like, babe, you can do this. Like, you've got what it takes. So for me, seeing John Maxwell and being able to, they announced that you could have the opportunity to get one of his books signed by him and a picture by him by buying one of his trainings. Casey and Christy ran to the line. I'm like, I'm getting a picture of my grandfather today. He's my grandpa. He doesn't know it. But that man, I feel like he's been part of raising me and the business owner and the leader that I am today. So it was really cool to see him. And I'm going to give you guys one quote that he said that stuck out to me. I actually just wrote a post about it. He said, oh my God, how did I say it? I just wrote something about like, don't track your losses, track your lessons. I think that's how it went. Don't track your losses, track your lessons. And that, you know, Veronica one time came on a team call and she said this one line that I tell you guys all the time, it was like an aha moment for me when she said, things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. That simple mindset shift. He said it there again, reiterated it in another way, and that stuck with me. So I wanted to give you guys that little gift as well. All right, let's move on to our next speaker. We've got Vero. Vero's going to talk to you guys about her number one highlight.
All right. Thank you. I have so much to say, but I'm going to talk about something that I think a lot of us can really, really, really relate to. But before I jump into that, I'm going to be very quickly. I had 1,000,001 excuses not to go to this event. I know a lot of you guys have been following me. My husband had surgery on Tuesday. My son broke both his arms on Wednesday. I had doctor's appointments with my son on Thursday. Then on Saturday, my son woke up and his gums were swollen, ended up having to get a tooth pulled. Like, I had every excuse not to go, but I went. And I even had people like message me or even, comment, say, wow, I can't believe you're there after everything that's going on in your life. And the first thing I would think is, why wouldn't I be there? Like, these events is what fuels you. What gives you life. What brings you like clarity into your life, into your marriage, into your parenting, into everything. Like, why wouldn't I be there? I needed that most. I needed that most. My son was fine. I mean, what could he do? Break both legs? I don't know. Whatever. At this point, it didn't even matter. It's fine. It's fine. So I get that so much. I get that. I think we do that to ourselves, and we give ourselves the excuse, or we give ourselves that, well, you know what? I have a cold, or I have a throat ache, or I have a fever, I have a headache, or whatever. We tell ourselves a million excuses. My son is sick. He's throwing up. So what? Put a bucket next to him and go work out. Like it's little choices, and it adds up, those little ones. So I'm so glad I went, because I honestly, like everybody there, we left, and you just leave with so much fuel to your fire. And that's why these calls are important. That's why the events, that's why Summit. There is no reason why not every single person on this call does not have a Summit ticket. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there. There's no reason. If you're sitting here claiming that you want to work on you, and you want to work on your business, and you want to grow this business, then you should be a Summit. You have to be a Summit. You need to be a Summit for you. So that has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about. I just had to throw that out there, because it was kind of like weighing on me, like when people were making that comment to me, and I was just like, what? But anyways, I'm going to talk about something that, as soon as the topic started at the 10X conference, it made me uncomfortable. And I think a lot of us can kind of relate to that. It was a little uncomfortable. The word sales. I'm a salesperson. Like, the one thing I had told my sister from day one, Monica, I'm not going to do that crap with you, because I'm not a salesperson. And one thing that Grant said was that, listen, we're all salespersons. Don't you sell your friend to go watch that movie? Don't you sell your friend to go and, eat at that restaurant that you love? Or how about when you go to Publix and you get that buy one, get one? You're being sold. At the end of the day, you're being sold. And just like he said, all you 35 people here, 35,000 people here, I sold you to come, So when he's like, get that word out of your mouth, that salesperson and selling and sold is a bad word. It's not a freaking bad word. Get that out of your mind. As soon as you can get that out of your mind, you can be free. Okay. And so some of the things that I realized was that, what we have to offer here, guys, is such yes, we're selling, but it's a solution. It's a solution to so many people, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially. Like, come on, guys. Yes, we sell. We sell a product, a really badass, excuse my French, a badass product. Why are we treading lightly with that word? Like, I want to put a huge sign, and I encourage everybody here to even be as ballsy as what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a big sign and say, yeah, damn right, I'm a salesperson. And you know what? And I'm proud of it. So some of the things that was one of the things he said. He said, sales is not a bad word. And I know for a fact that for me, at first, I felt icky. I felt icky when somebody said, oh, what are you selling? I was like, oh, they're saying sell, or whatever. So he gave us the permission to be proud of the fact that, yes, we're selling. And he also made us realize that everything in life, everything revolves around selling. So it's quit making it like it's a bad word. He also talked about how sales is a contact sport. So guess what? You're not out on the field tackling people, or you're not out, and you don't hit somebody, you're not going to get a sale. If you're sitting on the bleachers or the bench and you're watching, you're not going to get a sale. It's a contact sport. Get out there. Get out there and use your words, use your experience, use whatever the heck you need to do to reach people, message, whatever the case is, call them up. He had us call people at that very moment. He's like, I'm going to wait. I'll wait. And he made everybody get on the phone and dial somebody. Like, I kid you not. He's like, that's what it takes. None of this, like, let me post and hope somebody reaches out and buys my shit. No, it's a contact sport. Get out there and go find the people. So I like, to me, I was like, okay, Grant, whatever you say, like, it's true though. It's so freaking true, He also talked about stop overselling people. That was me. Okay, we're all in our journey, right? Some of us are coaches for a couple months. Some of us are coaches for years. Whatever the case is, our coaching life, I could honestly say, the coach I was when I first started, I'm not the same coach. We evolve, okay? And it's a trial and error. It's a fail, a hit or miss, but just keep going, right? So the one thing that I realized was that I was overselling people, because as soon as somebody said, tell me more, I was like, and I oversold because I was so excited the one person wanted to hear what I had to say. And he told us how sometimes overselling, you're actually turning somebody off. Short, sweet, simple, get to the point and close the freaking deal. So sometimes he's like, you don't even realize it, but if you read it between the person's line, they already want to buy and you're still trying to sell them. So I come back and I look at my conversations that I've had with people back in 2016 and 17, and I'm like, oh my God, Veronica. It's okay though. It's okay because it's molded you to the person. So don't be afraid to reach people because you feel that you don't have the scripts down packed. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. Just get out there, freaking tell somebody what you have to offer, talk to them about your experience and what it's done for you, and they can either buy it or not. And that's it. And if they don't, next. If they do, great, move on to the next person. And that to me was everything. So that's all I've got. I told Mo I was gonna be quick, so I don't know if you guys, that's pretty much it. Oh, and look at my hand do that. So.
That was awesome. Like, I'm seriously going through my notes and I'm like, do I have anything to add to that? You nailed it. That was exactly what he taught us. And and I saw your faces. It's so cool to see, like, as she's speaking, I see all your faces, and all of a sudden, like, this relief comes over your face when she's talking about this, because I think we all at some point felt this way, but we understood that it was necessary, and the way that he presented it and the permission to say, like, yes, this is what I do and there's nothing damn wrong with it. Like, that's how I felt also when I first heard it. It was just a sense of relief. And again, giving permission to charge forward. I've got nothing else to add to that. We're just going to go to the next speaker because that was amazing. And next up, we got Liz Suarez. You there, Liz?
Hey.
Yeah. Get it, girl.
All right. Can you guys hear me? Yeah? Okay, we're good to go. Okay, cool. So the event was fantastic, and I'm actually going to be talking about Sarah Blakely, which she is the CEO of Spanx. I'm pretty sure almost everybody on this call has used Spanx at one point or another. Am I right or am I right? So one of the takeaways that I had I had two takeaways from her speech, but the first one that I wanted to share with you guys was the company event that she had to go to. And this is I'm kind of comparing this to the leadership. I'm like thinking this is kind of how it's gonna go, right? And she starts talking about this company event, and they had to go and jump off a cliff. Are you still with me? Like literally full on gear, helmet, bungee cord, the works. And the whole point, the idea was there's this guy hanging 5 feet from the cliff, and you have to jump, and the guy's supposed to catch you. If he doesn't, you fall to your death. Not really, but 480 feet down below. So, yeah, 3 people go. First 3 colleagues go. They all jump, and of course, they all fall. I mean, it was horrific watching them all fall down, right? I'm like, they're tumbling, whatever, that. The next person, Sarah was about to start going. She's like, she goes in with confidence, and she's like, hold out your hands because you're gonna catch me. And as soon as she jumps, the guy catches her, and it was like, oh my God, right? Okay, as soon as it was over, she tells the people, so what were you guys aiming for? And they all turn around, they're like, I was aiming for their hands, for his hands. And she's like, why? What were you aiming for? She's like, I was aiming for the cable above the guy's head. Guys, that was so impactful, so powerful, because she always talked about aiming for something higher than the target that you were actually going for. Imagine, even though she was aiming for something that was way above what she was thinking her target was, she still landed where she was meant to land. So it's the same thing like we do with Success Club, when we do with our ranks and business and our life and everything. If you think that you can target, like you have a target that you know for a fact that you can hit, double it up. We hear it all the time from Emily Favre when she talks about it. Every time she would say, you know what, I need to hit double the Success Club points that I had the night before. I have to be better, or whatever that may be for you, aim higher, because if you aim for the exact target where you were going for, you might miss it and end up falling, just like the other 3 employees that they went through. The other thing that really resonated with me, and it was something that I'm still work in progress, that I struggle with a lot. How many of you, show of hands, feel guilty every single time you're at work and you feel like you should be with your kids? Show of hands, right? How many of you feel guilty when you're with your kids and you think you should be working? I mean, that is crazy, right? And what I got from that was it doesn't serve anyone if you're constantly feeling guilty every time you're doing something because you think that your attention belongs somewhere else. You have to get everybody around on the same exact page. When you're with your kids, you're fully undivided attention towards them. Just do whatever it needs to be done, and they know that after that, either or before that, you have this set time to do your work. Because if you're all over the place, it just doesn't serve anyone. So I'm still work in progress, but this is what I got from that, and that's something that I started implementing right away when I got back home, because I was all over the place and my creative mindset was just not working. And that's all I've got to say. I kept it short and sweet. I think that's pretty under 10 minutes.
That was perfect. I was trying right now to see if I could find the video of her doing the jump. Because guys, we got to see the video. So she stopped and she's like, forget trying to describe it. She played it for us. And what it was is like they were teamed up and each team had to, like she said, jump 5 feet into their partner's arms. And you saw person after person, like, even though you know they were on a bungee cord, the drop was so bad. And the kinds of screams that came out of people was like gut wrenching. And then here she came. And when she described her tactic, I was like, how many times are we selling ourselves short just because we didn't think a little bit bigger, aim a little higher, act a little bigger? Like I loved your pick, Lisette. That was an awesome pick. So thank you for talking to us about that. And it was, I'll tell you, Sara Blakely has this gift. Do you guys know that she is the first billionaire, self-made billionaire woman in not the United States, the entire motherfucking world? Homegirl is like.
And she still owns 100% of her company. She's never sold it.
Yes. Like that is hashtag boss babe, hashtag like everything. That's just my hero. and you saw her on stage, and the most average acting, like humble. You felt like she was your best friend. She was simple. She didn't overcomplicate things, and she was real. If you go to her social media, you go to her Instagram, you'll realize how real and how her down to earth her and her husband are. By the way, her husband, I'm surprised none of us picked Jesse to talk about. Jesse was phenomenal. I don't know, it was so much good stuff. But anyway, her husband also spoke at the event, and when you see their life together and how they have both attacked in each of their arenas, attacked their businesses, they've just done it by thinking bigger, acting bigger, and just figuring it out as they go. Just figuring it out as they go and trusting their instincts. And like Lizette said, removing the guilt, because you know what? I agree with them. You are doing more damage not living up to your potential for your family and your friends and all the people that are around you and the time that you do spend with them. If you are making yourself small, at the end of the day, you're not happy. You're not feeling to your, you're not living to your fullest potential, and they're only getting a piece of you when they could be getting all of you in a big way. All right, I'm gonna pass it on now. Oh no, it's me. I'm like, I'm gonna pass it on too. All right, it's my topic, guys. I'm so excited about this because I'll tell you that when I went to Entre Leadership, which is the event that Dave Ramsey puts on once a year, when I went to Entre Leadership for the first time, a similar training was done, a similar presentation was done, but this was the way we heard it at 10X was way easier to teach to the next person. And I can tell you that the way I learned it 2 years ago at Entre Leadership, applying it to my business, hands down has put me on another level when it comes to recruiting and when it comes to attracting people into my business, whether in fitness or whether in business building. I'm going to tell you guys that the number one way to build a business these days, not just Beachbody, but businesses all around, is no longer by advertising. Advertising's out the window. Advertising, the idea of advertising is that you advertise, you need at least 30 hits on a person for them to actually sink in and buy from you. Like that, in this day and age, with technology the way it is, with social media the way it is, that's too long. Today's day and age is fast, right? Double taps, clicks, swipes ups, all these things, all these actions that we want people to have. We need to figure out a way in an instant that they're swiping to catch their attention. And before I go into the speaker that I picked to talk about, I am going to tell you what Grant Cardone said about attention. He says, money follows attention. You need to get people's attention. And we are in competition with everything in life for people's attention, whether it's their personal life, the stresses, work, their children, their family, their spouse, their coworkers, whether it's another fitness company, whether it's another nutritional idea, whether it's the shoes that they want to buy for next weekend. We're in competition with so much for people's money and attention, right? That we have to think differently, and we have to figure out how to grab people's attention right away. He said, if you cannot get attention, you cannot get money. And that just attention equals money that I wrote down really big on my notebook. I was like, yes. That is what I learned in a roundabout way 2 years ago that I began to apply into my business, into my social media content, into even the way that I talk to people. When I start to talk to people about, okay, so what do you do? Instead of saying, I'm an online health and fitness coach, I do Beachbody programs, I drink. No, I don't do that, guys. When someone asks me, you know what I do? I tell my story. So back when I had Jackson, I didn't have time to work out. Some friend gave me these workout DVDs. I said, what the, and I began to tell my story, because that's the way you're going to capture attention. That's the way you're going to pull the emotion out of people. That's the way you're going to make where they're going to be able to hear what you're saying and it resonate in some part of their life for you to be able to close the deal. It's emotional, right? It's emotional. So the speaker that I'm going to talk to you guys about is this man called Pete Vargas. And it was so hilarious. So if you see the billboard of 10X, pretty much everybody, if you haven't been living under a rock, you could go one by one to each face and be like, Steve Harvey, Ty Lopez, Sarah Blakely. Oh, look, Bethany Frankel. Like you could go one by one and you'd be like, This is like a star-studded lineup. Oh, incredible. And then at the very end, the last guy, the 10th person on that billboard was a guy that nobody knew. Oh, who's that? Oh, some guy. Nobody knew. I would talk to Christina and Danny, all the girls that attend. I'm like, do you know who this guy is? No, no, nobody knew. And you know what they did? They left him for absolute last. He was the last speaker on the last day. And whoever didn't go, oh boy, did they miss out. Well, his name was Pete Vargas. Pete Vargas actually landed that job to land on 10X stage 5 months before the event. 5 months. And you know Grant Cardone, like he's picky about who he puts on his stage. But this Pete Vargas landed in front of him and he's like, I love you, I need you. And not only did he offer him the opportunity to present at 10X, but he also gave him a job offer, a partnership offer, actually. And I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that in a second. But Pete Vargas, it's funny what his job is. His job is to teach people how to own a stage, right? So raise your hand if you're like scared of public speaking. And by the way, think about it. Social media is a public speaking, right? It's a platform. It's a stage. Every time you post and share something, you have a stage that you're standing on and you're sharing. So raise your hand right now if that's something that that fears, that you like, it makes you cringe to think about. Okay. He taught us a formula that is fail-proof, that if you can lock down this formula every time you're sharing something, it'll end results. And I can tell you that this is true because as I studied that formula, I'm like, shit, that's what I was taught 2 years ago in another roundabout way that has worked for me today because I've been able to capture people's attention with just my story. All right, so I'm gonna share with you guys this framework, this formula that Pete Vargas told us, share with us. And let me also say that as he was sharing his story, right, as he was teaching us this formula, he was also sharing his story with us and using the formula to teach us. And I'll explain that in a second. So let me do a screen share real quick here. Here it is. All right, that's the formula right there. Plain and simple. Heart plus head plus, oops, I didn't finish it. That's funny. Okay. Heart plus head plus call to action plus heart. This is the stage formula that he taught us, right? And again, remember, a stage can be anything. It could be your social media accounts. It could be a live call that you do. It could be a team call like right now that we're doing. It could be an actual stage that you actually land on one day. But if you follow this formula, you will capture people and be able to get them to move on what you are teaching and selling and training them on, okay? So how did Pete do this? Well, Pete opened up the training with talking about his life. He came from a divorce, right? A really nasty divorce when he was younger. And his parents, he had a sibling, one sister, him and his sister. And in the divorce, the father took him and the wife, and the mother took the daughter, okay? And they moved separately and they were split up. When he was living with his father, he went through a lot with his father. There was a lot of neglect, a lot of verbal abuse in the sense of like he didn't really take care of him. He wasn't there for him. He said he spent more time alone than he did with his dad. He was always trying to fend for himself, feed himself, and all that kind of stuff. And for years, that carried on for years until he was about 16 years old, that his grandmother came to him and just said, that's it, I'm taking you out of this house. You know, I need to take care of you. And you know, no matter what anybody said to the dad, he went to his aunts and uncles, all his father's siblings, and said, please talk to my dad. I don't know why he's doing this. Like, you know, he would disappear and all that kind of stuff. And nothing could mend their relationship. The father was just not interested and going through his own stuff. And so Pete was raised for the rest of his life with his grandmother until he got older, left the house, and got married to his wife. Now, in this time frame, when he was younger, he got his first job at his local church, and he was in charge of the youth group. And so he got this youth group, and when he first started it, it had maybe like 6 kids that would show up to youth group every day. And he told the 6 girls that did show up, say, we're going to figure out a way to fill this room, right? To have this youth group like overflowing. And so what he did is that he started to figure out, who could I have come talk to this youth group? Who could I give a stage to that it could really change, like it would create interest and create more, and then invite their friends to continue and grow this youth group. And so that's what he did. He started with a star-studded lineup of just locals, and little by little, he started thinking bigger and bigger, and he started inviting people, like sometimes celebrities, sport athletes, and local heroes, and he was really gaining momentum. I mean, he was growing this youth group in a big way. In fact, he grew the youth group to one point up to 800 kids that would show up. Really awesome stuff. But then he landed this one speaker, and the speaker was the father of the very first student killed in Columbine. And he invited this guy to come speak and take the stage. And there were 2 sessions, one in the morning and one at night. Now, mind you, at this time, he still has no contact with his father. He doesn't know where he's at. Oh, well, he knows where he's at, but he has no contact with him. And when that father spoke that morning, what he shared on that stage was so powerful, and how he talked about how you have to love the ones that you've got in your life, because you don't know when the next time you're going to see them. They may walk out of your house and you don't know if that's the last time you're going to see them. And then he said one line to the audience. He said, even those in your life that you are in turmoil with, that you have conflict with right now, reach out to them, because you don't know if they're going to be there tomorrow. And that really hit Pete. And it drove him to reach out to his father and invite his father to the nighttime session. He said, if there's anybody that can get through to my father, it's got to be this guy, because I guess he was super moved by this father that spoke. So he invited his dad. His dad showed up to the event, sat in the back, the absolute back, and listened to this man speak, this father speak about losing his daughter at Columbine. And he repeated the same line. And Pete says that he kept looking over at his dad and just waiting to see a reaction, waiting to see something change. He said everything was over. His father got up and his father just left. Didn't say anything to him. He thought he'd get maybe a sorry, maybe let's have dinner, nothing. His father just got up and left. And he said on stage, he said, I swore that, fuck this, it's over. He's out of my life. He doesn't exist. A week later, Pete gets a letter in the mail. And the letter in the mail is from his father. And he goes on and on on apologizing for all that he's done. He knows he was a terrible father. He knows what he did. He just couldn't control it, I guess, at the time, and that he begs for his forgiveness. And in the letter, he ends it with, I wish I could have a second chance with you. All right? So that's how Pete opens up his training. That's the heart. He opened up his heart, and he made a connection with us. And he says that you have to create a connection, but you have to be able to tell people how you're ordinary, but at the same time, extraordinary, right? Something extraordinary happening. You're ordinary enough to connect, but there's an extraordinary event happening. You're capturing a heart. The next thing was the head, okay? And how did Pete do this as he was teaching us? Next thing, he started literally teaching us this formula on how to capture. And he says, the head is the process. How did you do something? What can you teach your audience on how you did something? In this case, he was teaching us this exact formula, right? The next thing was the CTA, the call to action. He says, this is where you collect leads, basically. Whether it's on social media, where that part that you say, I have a challenge group forming and I'd love to work with you. In this case, he was teaching us, his CTA was inviting us to his training, because that's the offer that Grant gave him, to partner up and create a training to train people on public speaking and storytelling. And then he closed his training after all the head stuff, the procedure, and then closing it with the call to action, saying, this is what I have to offer you, and basically selling people on what he has to offer and giving them the next steps, what to do next. He closed it with heart. Now, none of us were really expecting him to close it this way. We were just like, okay, because every other speaker, you know how they would end their presentation with how you could buy their package, right? How you could buy their training, how you could join them, and so on and so on, and then they walk off the stage. Not Pete. Pete closed it with this. He says, remember, guys, how I told you that my father, at the end of his letter, asked for a second chance? Well, my father, after that letter, my father and I, we reconciled, and we started to lead a life together and get to know each other all over again. And a couple of years later, he marries a woman, and he finds out his father was 49 at the time, and the woman was 40. And the woman finds out that she's pregnant. And he says, you know, he by the way, Pete and his wife had a hard time conceiving, which was another thing. But his father, when he finds out that he's having a second child and the child happens to be a boy, he remembers sitting Pete down and saying, like, this son of mine, your brother that's about to be born, is my second chance. And at this very moment, as he's telling the story, the camera goes and he goes, by the way, guys, I forgot to tell you, my dad is here today. He's listening to me speak. And when they put that camera on that father, that man's lips trembling, face beat red, you could tell it took everything in that man's heart not to cry in front of everybody, because I'm sure the immense amount of pride in his son, watching him speak to a stage of 30, be on stage speaking to 30,000 people. You know, it's funny. That's when Casey next to me was like, that's it. I'm buying that package. I'm doing that training. Like, I need this man in my life. Literally, Casey stood up and said, I'm in. And she did. She signed up for Pete Vargas's training. Guys, that he taught us this formula and he sold us on him using the same exact formula. And I was like, how freaking powerful is that? And then he closed it with the idea that, you know, there's two kinds of buyers we have to remember. There are tactical buyers and there are emotional buyers. So we have to be patient with both of them, right? We have to be patient for both of them. For the tactical buyers, the ones that are going to ask 20 million questions, going to need to know everything. And at the end, eventually they will make the decision if they have everything they need to know and you've completed the puzzle for them. And there's also the emotional buyers, the ones that you're going to capture their heart, and with just that, they're going to trust you and run with you. But you got to be patient enough to stick around for both. And you got to be out there calling attention at all times, doing things to call attention to who you are and what you're about. And this formula gives you the perfect roadmap on how to structure it and how to reel it back in and to get people to notice you and the attention that we are seeking for the value that we have to provide. So for me, Pete Vargas's formula was absolute gold. It's what I feel like it was tangible, that I could pick this up and take this home and share it with you guys, and you guys can begin to apply right away, because that's our goal, is to make connections in this business. And we need to move people in an emotional way to make those connections. So I think that's all I have on mine. I feel like I forgot to say something, but you know, that always happens. Hold on, let me get out of this stop share. So yeah, that was in a roundabout way our 10X experience, which is really great. And let me see. Oh my God, I feel like I forgot to say something. What was I meant to say? I know what I meant to say. So Pete Vargas's entire career, he feels so strong about giving the right person the stage, because he feels that that one father that was brave enough to share his story and get on that stage and share changed his father, which in turn changed his entire life. And he said, if the stage is that powerful that it can change at least one person's life in that audience, imagine at the masses, and imagine at over and over done. And now with social media being able to, so the message there, which I thought was very powerful, is like, don't hold back. Don't hold back. It is your story, and your story is your power. And again, you will be doing a disservice to the world. You never know who needs to hear it that can alter the life of somebody in a very big way. And that's why he believes the stage is so powerful, and that's why he's so passionate about teaching people how to tell their story. So as Pete Vargas, I knew that was something that was very important about it. All right, so any questions before I leave you guys with the challenge that Grant left us with? Anything anybody wants to say or add in? Girls, if you guys have anything else that you want to add in, by all means. No? Okay. So I hope with everything that we shared tonight, there's something that stood out to you. Something, again, tangible that you can get up, walk away with, and start creating change for the better. And something that will allow you to start stepping out of your comfort zone all over again. If you were like me, where you're getting a little comfortable and you knew that you needed to stretch. So Grant challenged us right before we left to changing one thing that you do every day. And he said it could be as simple as like backing your car up every day in reverse versus forward. But something that you pick once a day that from here forward you're going to do that's going to be out of the ordinary for you, because the goal is to make yourself uncomfortable. The goal is that every time you do this one thing from here forward, starting tomorrow, that it's going to remind you that you're in a state of change, that you are growing. You are not being constant, but you are in growth mode. Because that's what 10X is about. It's about being outside of your comfort zone, shooting for 10 times more than what you are trying to attain, right? Aiming higher, like Liz shared, aiming higher so that you can reach your goals. So think of one thing that you're going to do, and I'll share with you. Mine was, I know I needed to sharpen up my personal development skills, and I knew I needed to do one thing that made me uncomfortable. I hate reading. So no audibles for me, because they just don't work. My mind wanders off, and I know I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to do. For me, it's sit down every morning before my workout, and I tell myself at least 10 pages that I get in. That might sound like rinky-dink to some people. It's a lot to me. But I'm getting in. I sit down, guys, and I tell myself 10 pages. You know how much I've been completing each day? Between 20 and 30. Because I'm starting to develop the habit. And I'm actually liking what I'm reading, and it's fueling me, and I'm feeling the effects. So find something. If right now all you can do is handle reversing your car into the driveway instead of forward to remind yourself that you're in a state of change, so be it. But if there's something else that you can think of that you can change today, starting tomorrow, do it and remind yourself of constant change from here forward. Then you'd be living a 10X life, and it's a beautiful life to live. So with that, I'll leave you guys. Yeah? Was it helpful? Good stuff? All right, before we go, let's take one giant group picture. So if you're on camera and you want to come off so that we can take a group picture so we can share. Hold on, we go. There we go. Full view. Hey, look at everybody's beautiful faces popping up now. Okay, so there's this thing, 10X. 10X, baby. 10X it, 10X it. Yeah. Hold on. My cafecito's coming out in the back. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wait, let me boomerang. Hold on. Do this. Okay, wait, let me boomerang. Hold on. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. 10X it, baby. 10X. Got it. All right, team. Good night. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope that was helpful and that you took away some golden nuggets.